Just who would you say is more patriotic, a Medal of Honor winner or a literal ghoul? It's not a trick question, but apparently it is a question up for debate on X because the U.S. Army honored the 13th anniversary of the incident of Captain Florent Groberg earning his Medal of Honor, right? He tackled a suicide bomber protecting his team, an act of valor that earned him the medal. While serving as the personal security detachment for a senior coalition commander and Afghan army commanders in the deadly Kunar province, he spotted a potential suicide bomber walking toward the formation. Groberg sprinted toward the subject, tackled him, and the bomber's vest detonated, where then a second suicide bomber attempted to detonate his vest. And while it killed 4 Americans, Groberg's actions saved the lives of almost all of the patrol, right? He lost 50% of his lower calf, went deaf in one ear, and had a significant TBI, right? And of course, for his acts of valor, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. Truly a true American hero to everybody except for Trump campaign informal advisor Laura Loomer. Now, she weighed in with her hottest of the hot takes. He said, there are many people the Army could honor who received the Medal of Honor, but who did the Army choose to honor instead on their social media page under the Trump administration? A Democrat who spoke at the 2016 DNC where he campaigned against Trump in support of Hillary Clinton and was praised by Obama, right? You'd think that the Army of all places would invest in proper vetting, but nope. Inadequacy, screw-ups, and zero political knowledge of anything in the Trump era is totally accepted by many in this admin. Worth noting that the Medal of Honor is a combat award. I don't know what else to tell you. Believe it or not, they don't make you take a political test before awarding it. If you do the act of valor, you get it, right? Of course, she begins to scream and rant about Dan Driscoll, the Secretary of the Army, and she seethes, saying they had to find an immigrant who voted for Hillary Clinton and spoke at the DNC as Obama's guest. Now, to be clear, Groberg was born in France, but is a naturalized citizen. So, again, this should tell you something. Now, you may be like, Paul, Laura Loomer is just a troll. She's just seethes and copes on X. But I want to point out that Loomer has basically was by Trump's side throughout the entire campaign, frequently seen at his rallies and was a guest on his campaign plane. And notably, she accompanied him to a presidential debate in Philadelphia and to a 9/11 commemoration event. Of course, she has been a staunch defender of the administration and, in fact, has frequently basically alleged that there are all of these secret anti-Trump insiders in the White House. And whenever she senses an anti-Trump insider, she tells the president and they get fired. In fact, there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of loyal Trumpists who were fired from the National Security Council based on her absolutely unhinged opinions. For example, in my opinion, she said President Trump should evaluate his entire National Security Council. Right. For example, one National Security Council member who spoke Chinese and was ethnically Chinese, she accused him of working on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. He was removed, right? Of course, the CIA's Center for Global Health Services, was fired after being targeted by Loomer. Trump's nominee for Surgeon General was withdrawn after Loomer criticized him. Loomer literally took credit for the firing of Maureen Comey, a relatively low-level Justice Department employee, but also the daughter of James Comey. So basically, dozens and dozens of people have been fired simply because she has alleged that they are secretly anti-Trump. Now, where things get even more unhinged is when you realize the kind of person she is. Laura Loomer is not exactly well known for getting it right. For example, she said that the Parkland shooting high school was fake. The Santa Fe high school shooting was fake. Stephen Paddock, the white Las Vegas native who literally never traveled abroad was a secret ISIS agent. She said the mail bombing attempts in the United States that were done by a mentally ill person who was anti-Democrat was actually an Antifa member. She said the Buffalo shooting, which was carried out by a white supremacist who literally dropped a manifesto, said it was a hoax perpetrated by the Democratic Party to start a race war. She accused, for example, of during the October 7th attacks in Israel, she said that a attack in Chicago between a landlord and their tenants was somehow associated with it. There's just so much of the 2023 Rainbow Bridge incident in New York, she said was a secret jihadi plot. She said that the 2024 Iowa Republican presidential caucuses, the snowstorm that occurred leading up to them, was perpetrated by the American deep state using a top secret weather machine to increase the chances of Nikki Haley. Right. She also said that Hurricane Helene, that FEMA aid was being denied entry into North Carolina, but then later on turned around and said that individuals in North Carolina should definitely not accept help from FEMA. So as you can see, right, she also said in July 2024 that Joe Biden is dying and final preparations are being made for him. Obviously, Joe Biden's still very much alive. In September, she said that there were definitely Haitians eating that there were 20,000 cannibalistic Haitians running around Springfield, Ohio. Again, she also claimed that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was actually the person who shot his own party's legislatures in that shooting in Minnesota. So, and of course, in the 2025 Midtown shooting, Loomer claimed that the cop killer in New York City was a Mamdani supporter. But in fact, it was, again, a mentally ill Muslim immigrant who couldn't even vote. So Laura Loomer not exactly batting 100 in terms of her ability to assess things. But I think what's more troubling and what I really think is you know, it's sort of funny because she's crazy and dumb, right? But what I think is fundamentally important is that this is someone who is deeply connected to the president and has views that are incompatible with the U.S. Constitution. You can either support Laura Loomer or you can support the Constitution. And like Groberg, I too swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States. And this whole thing is part of my honoring that oath to say this sort of stuff publicly, right? Because Laura Loomer has beliefs that the spirit and letter of the Constitution say have no place in our country. For example, she is a white nationalist. This is not me. This is not me being like a hater or doing that thing where every like pronouns in bio person on Twitter does, where anyone who says anything sort of vaguely right wing is a white nationalist. No, Loomer has described herself as a white nationalist. She's also called herself alt-right and alt-light, and calls herself a proud Islamophobe, right? Now, there's two right there. I want to point out, she also literally is like, I am an anti-Muslim person. She's like, I refuse to get in a cab with a Muslim Uber or Lyft driver. She actually asked for a ride-sharing company that did not employ Muslims. She's just like an abhorrent person. And here's the problem. One, the U.S. has freedom of religion. The First Amendment to the Constitution says that you have freedom of religion through both the Establishment Clause. It says that you can't establish a state religion, and the Free Exercise Clause, which means that the government. So both of those things clearly indicate that one of the American values that we share is religious plurality. Doesn't mean you get to commit crimes. But it means you have the right in this country to practice your religion as you see fit. So is it troubling? Is it compliant with the Constitution to have an advisor like Laura Loomer? Is Laura Loomer someone who aligns with constitutional values of this country? Probably not. right? Of course, she also describes herself as pro-white nationalism, stating the belief that left-wing liberals and left-wing global Jewish Marxists don't understand the difference between white nationalism and white supremacy. Now, I want to point out, again, that on the left, there was this thing a couple of years ago where literally like water was white supremacist, you know? But literally the belief that there is an ethnicity and they should get their own country, and that presumably as an advisor to the president, she means America. Well, that is in direct violation of the Equal Protection Clause. See, the 14th Amendment says that if you were born here or you're naturalized, you are entitled to equal protection of the law, which means that by definition, the country can either adhere to the Constitution of the United States or you could be a white nationalist, right? It's pretty straightforward. So, again, she's like a ghoulish person and has some unbelievably cringe and dumb comments, and is truly just awful. She actually described the Pope as just another Marxist puppet in the Vatican, which is truly one of the takes of all time, given that Karl Marx, well, hates religion. But I want you guys to understand in a larger sense, this is someone with tremendous influence who is strongly endorsed by the sitting president. And ultimately, she has positioned herself as saying, listen, service to this country, she says, doesn't look like wearing the uniform, defending American values, standing up for against terrorism. It doesn't mean service or sacrifice. It means winning. It means paranoia. It means looking at your ethnic group, your race, your religion, and saying, we're the good guys, and we're going to make sure the bad races and the bad religions don't have a place here, right? You can't choose both. I hate to tell it to you, but that's the point of an oath. The point of an oath that I swore means that I don't get to decide whether I go, the Constitution, I don't know. Maybe Laura Loomer's right about all this crazy shit. No, she's not. She happens to be also wrong, right? America is the largest, most powerful, most prosperous country to ever live. And there's some secret sauce, and it's probably baked into those 8 pieces of paper. So again, ultimately, this is the referendum. You can sit there and support individual policies this way or that way. But you cannot sit there and be like, okay, well, you can't support Laura Loomer and also support Captain Groberg, right? You can't be like, he honored his country. He is a brave soldier who honored the oath and sacrificed to protect his country and his fellow service members. And also Laura Loomer's got some good points. You have to hate one of them. You have to hate one of them. So I don't care which one it is, but I think you can infer on this channel that if you're somebody who's like, I think Laura Loomer's right, unsubscribe. Get the fuck out. I don't want your views. I don't want your money. Go fucking watch it on Rumble somewhere. That's all I got. See ya.